podcast. Now is the time to take action. Now's the time to do more and be more.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Tangle One podcast. I got Big Gus on here today. We are talking all things pull through. We're less than a week away from this baby, so we want to give you guys some advice, some tips, and some good shout outs to everybody. Maybe go over the rules a little bit. I was just discussing behind the scenes before we started. I told Gus we are doing tukes in our gym for everybody that participates, and he had never heard of the word, which is mind blowing to me. So what was the show, Gus? Ready to roll?
No, I'm hurting. We had our gym party last night, but we can do this.
Oh, I was wondering, you got like a little bit of eyes going there.
Yeah, bounce back. Luckily, I'm too old now to really hurt myself too bad. So I just passed out before I can do the real damage, but it's a nice reminder that I'm in my late 30s, not my early 20s anymore.
I hear you, man. We had ours last weekend. I was messed up till like, I think Wednesday before I was right again.
Getting hockey waste.
Hockey waste. I love that's how you refer to us. All right, man. So we're a week from the pull through. How's it looking at your place right now? You guys got a pretty sick raffle table going.
Yeah, the raffle table's good. We've done nothing in the gym whatsoever to get prepared for it. So we're going to try and sweep and mop at the bare minimum before, because the whole floor is covered in riot punch and frosting. So at least get the floor cleaned up and everything ready. But the important stuff's done. So like you said, the raffle table's getting pretty full. Lifters are signed up, and we're light about 10 compared to where we usually are, because you guys can't get in the damn country. But luckily, you guys rallied and put together the Canadian version of the pull through.
Yeah,
so
we're doing pretty good here. I think we have 30-ish people, maybe close 35. Maybe if you count my team, I guess a lot of my staff is going to lift too. So a lot of people have been asking me, especially in our house, because this is going to be real new to people. I know that you probably have some people that have never done this. We have almost everybody who's lifting on Saturday has never done this. So why don't they just give some people, like, first of all, like, what are the rules? Like, how does it work?
Yeah. So
and then
when we set this whole thing up, this will be the 5th time we've done it. Obviously, we couldn't do it. Well, we probably could have last year, but we chose not to, just out of respect for everybody. Like we talked last time, that couldn't or wouldn't travel. Not going to do it just for the sake of doing it to be a dick. So we skipped last year. We've been doing it since I think 2013. Had to take a couple years off because we had other stuff going on. But this will be the 5th time we've done it over the course of the years that we've started it. So we basically take 1/3 of a powerlifting meet, which is just the deadlift. We run it quasi. I mean, you're not going to get, at least in here, you're not going to get red lights if you hitch a little bit or do something. It's a fun day, So ultimately, you have 3 attempts to build to a 1 rep max deadlift after warm up stuff off to the sides, because we've made that mistake too, where and I'm no power lifter. I'm very clear on that, but folks who've never done something in this setting didn't know there was a warm up area and all this other stuff. So a lot of like refinement over the years. So at least how we run it, you'll have a little warm up area off to the side, and everyone organized by flights. So down here, we're probably going to have flights of 6 or 7. Take a little break. So let that group of 6 or 7 warm themselves up, everything from stretching in an empty bar all the way up to, somewhere close to their opener. And then we start getting to our 3 attempts. That usually moves pretty fast. And if it's run correctly, you'll have a couple of minutes between your attempts. That's why you run flights, not one super long chain of athletes pulling. You don't want to lift, wait 40 minutes, then lift again. So after a few minutes, you'll go to your next attempt and then your 3rd and final attempt. And if you think about it, for folks that haven't done any of this stuff, then it would be just like building to a 1 rep max where you're not in some sort of competition, quote unquote. Just you have a little bit of a buffer between, because other people are lifting. So after you get yourself warmed up good and proper to probably about 80% of what you're capable of off to the side, and then your flight starts, your first lift, it should be something 100% you can hit. And that's probably going to be under 90% of your 1 rep max, current 1 rep max, and a little north of your last warm up set off to the side. Main thing, especially for folks that haven't done any of this stuff, whether it be, strongman or push pulls or any of this kind of stuff, is just get the warm and fuzzy that you can in fact do this, even if people are watching you. Get something on the probably 80 to 85% of what you're capable of. And then when you roll into your second round, you'll be 90%-ish. Or if you're feeling really good and want to make a bigger jump, go for your PR in that second round, and then, Hail Mary on the third if you're feeling real froggy for it. But if you're going to ride all 3 attempts, you're going to take your opener or your first round at something that can be lifted without a shadow of a doubt. Your second attempt is going to bump up from that. And then your third attempt should be your attempt for a personal record or whatever your goal is for that day. So that kind of gives you like a little bit of organization, but it doesn't have to be so rigid that there's a magic formula for it. Mainly, don't do 3 lifts at 95%, 98%, and 101%. You probably missed that last one. It doesn't really matter where you open. Louis' old statement, doesn't matter how you open, it matters how you finish. That's probably the biggest guiding factor for this stuff, and keeping it really, really simple,
Yeah, that's good advice. I underestimated the nerves that would be around that first lift, the first time I came up and did this in your place. And, I've deadlifted a lot of times in my life, but never in front of like a crowd of people. And, you and I have done some pretty hairy things in our lives, adrenaline charge, but it's a different, it's like all about that comfort level of what you're doing. And I got a funny story about the nerves. So this is an offside story, but you'll appreciate it, of course. We get to your place the first time, and we drive up. I think we drove up the morning of the very first time we came, and of course we're like all hyped up on coffee and had probably too many coffees. Get there, and I do my warm up, and then my first lift is coming, and I'm like, oh no, I got to shit, man. I'm like so nervous. I'm so nervous. So I go into the can there of your place, and you've got that shower curtain set up. So I'm in there, and I'm like, doing the Dumb and Dumber, like it was awful. I'm so nervous, and like an Eddie comes in and starts slamming on the curtain while I'm trying to go to the bathroom. He's like, you stink, come on, you gotta lift. I'm like, this is making it so much worse. I'm trying to like really hurry up and get out there. Oh man, it was one of the funniest experiences. That was like literally I had met Eddie 5 minutes before he did that to me. I'm like, what's with this guy?
That sounds exactly like par for the course with him.
That's
all the time. He just can't help himself.
So funny. So as far as the numbers, so the only and correct me if I'm wrong, what I recall from your place is the only number we're making people register with is that first opening lift number. Everything else they can kind of play by ear and ask us for guidance or coaching. We just ask you to hand in that first number so we can make the heats with it, right?
Yeah. So like for your folks getting the tables and everything set up, usually we'll just take index cards or make a bunch of them on the printer and just name an opener. So then when you have their openers, when you have their openers, and you can run all 3 lifts if you want to make them call it, and then you can adjust anyway on the fly. So it really makes no sense to write everything down. But, and again, it's a charity meet for fun on a Saturday right before Christmas. Like it doesn't have to be the most, like methodical way to get this done. So really whatever works. But if you have the name in the opener, you can just organize the openers by weight, however big you want your flights, 8 or 10 lifters per flight. Just grab 8 or 10 cards in ascending order. So your last flight will usually be your bigger lifts, or you can do it where each flight has some big lifts in it and all that stuff. But at least that way your openers are almost always comparable, so that you're not loading and unloading bars constantly. So if you have openers that are 135, 145, 150, whatever, that's a pretty good group to start and keep that going. And then you can, further refine it. If you want to make openers like designated weights, like for us, it really isn't that big of a deal to put 2.5s or something on. So I don't really care. Pick whatever you want to open with. But traditionally at like a real power meet, you're going to have in kilos what you can open with or what your calls can be. So that way it prevents the bog down of like 2 pounds here, 5 pounds for this guy. It's just you're picking this list, usually in 2 kilo increments all the way up and down. So you can do it either way. I think at least for this event, and a lot of people do come to these things, and we still have people that show up for the first time. This isn't a meet, but for lack of a better term, with meet etiquette, this is their first time doing something like this. So just to continue to take away the nerves, like here, pick whatever the hell you want. It really isn't that hard to make a bar 95 pounds or 100 pounds evenly. So you pick, dealer's choice, and that's how we run it. And then when they get their opener done, we stand off to the side with that little whiteboard. All right, what do you want for your second attempt? After your second attempt, tell us your third attempt, and your third attempt, you're done anyway. So we just erase that flight, put the next one up. So it makes it pretty simple. I think that's a nice thing to do for folks, is let them pick their weight down to the very last pound versus here, pick something from the list, because it's ultimately not that important for us, because it's not a meet or something crazy where there's all these rules and serious events that have to occur. So I'd rather just make it.
I think that's important to note, is like, it's not a competition, like it's a competition with yourself. Like, do the best that you can do, but other than that, like there's some simple rules that have to be abided for. So there's like, there's some, not chaos, but we want people to know. So like, people should understand, like I got the this is another funny story. My first time there, I went up for my first I think we were still warming up. Like, you didn't have a warm-up station then. We warmed up like in front of the platform my first time there, maybe. Anyways, but I remember dropping the bar and getting yelled at by somebody. So you got to ride that bar down, like, unless you're trying to avoid injury, but for a good lift, you got to ride the bar down. And, not hoisted up on your knees too. Those are the two only real things that can kind of get you a fail, for lack of a better word, I guess.
Yeah, we still want everyone leaving with a warm and fuzzy off when they do get done. Leave with a warm and fuzzy feeling that you did something cool. But yeah, like, you probably don't need to like hitch too hard or slam the bar and stuff. Like, we had our biggest lift down here was the year Josh lifted 850, and he set the bar right,
crazy.
Where it's like, dude, okay, the guy who pulled 850 or TD pulling 700 for 3 and all this crazy stuff, like, these guys are setting the biggest barbells down. I applaud the 425 PR or whatever it was you hit, Tony, but don't slam the bar down, especially now, because that's someone else's bar. We don't even get to keep it.
Yeah. We have one. We're ready to roll with that big baby. That's the first time I pull it out since last year, I think.
Did you see the one they did us for us this year with the green and black camo, like a tiger stripe looking pattern on it? It's awesome.
Man, it looks beautiful. I'd love one of those.
I want to keep it real bad. I hate that. I only child, it's right before Christmas, dude. I don't know how I'm going to give this thing away, because I just really want to have it.
All right, we're gonna keep this baby short and sweet. So I think that covers everything about the competition. I just we're not doing our regular sponsors on this episode of the podcast. We just want to personally shout out some people who have really supported us for the pull through, on my end and on your end both. So it'd be nice to just hear from some of those guys. So is anybody you want to give a quick shout out for sponsor wise, and maybe people can go and check out their site or buy something off them and support whatever?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's still us and Texas Power Bars. Those guys have been with us on this thing since day one. And now, every year they donate the deadlift bar for the day. We've got another project going with them right now. So there's a lot. This wouldn't be as effective if Texas Power Bars wasn't behind it, and being behind it every single year is a huge reason people do come. And then Arsenal Strengths still on board helping us. Westside Barbell, same thing since before day one on this. New York Prime Beef, Frank's still in there. Vitamos Incorporated just continues to support it. There's a couple of families that donate either direct to the foundation or in-kind goods. A bunch of our coaches, Ian Cruz, Carlos out in California, Nobi. It was a huge amount of sponsors this year. The brewery right next door. And
that place.
The list just keeps going. I'm going to screw it up if I try to list them all off, but we'll make sure everyone gets their proper thank yous from us. But those are the big ones for sure that have come across, and it just it's nuts. Like, I don't understand how this whole thing worked, but I think it's a lot more fun to raise money via deadlifting versus just always having to run a 5K to help somebody. So that's always kind of, a good feeling that people are like, oh, okay, cool, we'll do that too.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. For us, of course,
can't get in the country, so open up the Canadian leg of this thing. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I hope this isn't a permanent thing, because we really enjoy coming to your place. But for us, I don't know if the Garage Gym people even know, like, Texas Power Bars is like 90% of the bars we have in this place. We got the best bars in probably in all of Canada in our little gym. I'm super proud of that. And we'll be deadlifting with the Texas Power Bar deadlift bar that was won at the competition a couple of years ago by Coach Kansas.
It was not a conspiracy, you guys. It was a random ticket. Now I make the children pull the tickets out now so people don't beat me up.
We also got Mill Bros. They're throwing in a cool charcuterie board. GL Heritage Brewery, where you came down for the special lift that you came down for. They're always on board, just like you guys at the brewery. Lee and Maria's. We got Town Shop, HQ, my nutrition company that I work with. They're doing a great things for us. Greenheart, McGee Plumbing, Team Rehab. Jeff Bugazeli throwing in some car washes. We're gonna have a pretty good raffle table, and then of course, like you said, there's just so many individuals that are supporting us. It'd be almost impossible to read them all off. And I think last but not least, we talked on the last podcast, but we didn't really talk about where this money's going. The Matt Pucino. So maybe just hit on that, and we can call it a Sunday morning. You can get back to cleaning your disaster of a gym from your Christmas party.
Yeah. So, and then also Byron and Curtis off a list of coaches, they're coming up too. Henry McFarland. There's a few more make all the way up from Texas. So it's a good feeling people are willing to travel to do this stuff. But yeah, we're doing the money for the Matt Pucino Foundation. We've been working with them for a few years now. Met a fella through just all the work in the Conjugate Tactical stuff. Met a fellow that was on Matt's old team prior to him passing. So they started a foundation for him. It's the Matt Pucino Foundation.org, I believe it is, or just Google Matt Pucino Foundation. But ultimately, great group to work with, and 100% of the money they raise goes to cause, not operational cost. So there's no one there, making $1 million flying private and while donating 30 cents kind of thing, like some organizations. But so 100% of what they raise goes to cause. And this year, the money we raise down here is going to 2 ongoing projects. One, and we've been on board to help build a smart home before, or an adaptive home. So part 1 of the projects is a smart home for a gentleman, a U.S. Army soldier. He had a training accident, ended up paralyzed from the waist down. So they're building another smart home in conjunction with a couple of other organizations to make an adaptive home specific to this guy's needs. Everything from my understanding of like counter heights, track to go up the stairs and down the stairs, all that kind of stuff that has to be catered to the individual, that can't be mass produced and knocked out because it's all so unique. Good chunk of what we're doing is going to that. And then the second part is going to a home being purchased free and clear. So it should be void of mortgage, tax, anything, for the widow of one of the Marines that were killed in the Kabul attacks back in August. So that'll be a nice feeling, even though I don't know the gentleman that was killed. I don't know his wife, but the foundation rallied behind it. And in my opinion, it's a pretty noble cause to make sure, after the fact, that the wife and child of this fella are taken care of. So that'll be nice. And then we're doing small sidebars to help, because our gym here, the business, everything, we've always made a commitment to assisting with the holistic treatment of PTSD, TBI, veteran suicide, that whole, pile of issues. We can't do anything to help it. I don't know what I'm doing, but the folks that do, we can at least help try and get them some financing. So we're working with Mission 22 and then Project Resilience. So a small portion of what we raise that day is going to be dedicated to our ongoing efforts we do every year to just aid that whole cause. That's 2 really good groups we've always gotten behind. And again, they take care of the cause, not just spend, which is terribly important for us. To anything we rally behind, we try to do our best to vet it, to ensure these things are going to help, not just magically disappear. The funds we raise for folks, and all 4 of these organizations, all 3 of these organizations are tremendous versions of that idea of philanthropy. They do it the right way for the right reasons, and it's nice to be able to support them. So that's where everyone's donations will be going, and then some. So hopefully the table delivers, and we can get those 2 houses built and purchased, and then do some good with the folks that are treating our guys stateside here. Get them some more assets to continue to do their work and clean up, and then keep working for next year.
Good. That's awesome, man. And the garage gym, so everybody knows, with us, everything from the registration fee, your ticket into the event, is going to the Matt Pucino Foundation, which we're going to send over, and then the raffle table is going to go to support some local. On the same lines of Jason, you guys know that very much I am a supporter of PTSD and first responders and some of the troubles they're going through. So we are going to be donating the raffle table funds towards our local cause, which helps. Same as you said, people like that know way more than Gus and I do, other than Gus and I know some of the problems that come with those things. We don't know the answers or the fixes. So we're going to go to support that too. So super, it's a great event, man. And I love doing it with you. And forever grateful that I got to spend a weekend in a basement with you out in Salt Lake City, because it's been we've made I think you and I working together with our huge communities of support have made a difference, and a small difference in a world which everybody made just a little bit of difference would be that much better, I guess.
Hope so, man. There's, I think there's a pretty good divide of good people and shitheads, and I just really don't want to be. And it's the worst out there. So hopefully we do some good for some folks, and hopefully those folks can do a lot of good for the people that need it most. So it does.
Oh, yeah,
it's love to have you guys down here, but it's awesome that you guys are supporting from up there. But I do hope the Canadian event of this is short-lived. We start getting everybody back together again soon.
Couldn't agree more. So that's it for today, guys. If you guys have questions, if you want to support the event, you guys can find Gus in the show notes on his Instagram, or you can get a hold of me and we will make that happen. If you want to support from afar, or if you want to get involved in the event still, I'll take you right to the last minute. So thanks, Gus, for coming on here today, and thank you, everybody, and good luck next weekend to everybody lifting.
Awesome, man. It was a pleasure talking to you again, buddy.
Now's the time to do more and be more.